G'day Bomber fans, our season is still alive, barely, but there is a pulse, so finals is still mathematically possible. We're 2 points out of the 8 with 3 games left. I'm not holding out hope for finals, I just want to see us close out the year playing good footy, and we have a great chance to put on a show against the Gold Coast Suns. Confidence should be high after that Freo win. We realistically should be winning this game, so let's talk about it. Round 22 preview, only a few of these left in the year, it's gone quick, so let's get into it, but first some votes from the last game. Alrighty, votes, it was really tight with everyone's votes. Mine on the left have Stringer leading Caldwell and Redmond. Shield was my role player. You guys struggled to split your top 3. No one else even got double figures, by the way. It was just these guys. Caldwell leads, Stringer and Merritt. Redmond was the role player, edging out Shield and Draper for their last quarter heroics. I won't show you the tally as I said last week. I'm keeping the suspense building for an end of year video. Alrighty, Saturday night, Marvel Stadium, the best stadium in the world, Marvel Stadium. We get to play our fierce rivals Gold Coast in front of about 30 people, I'm guessing. Although after last week, I think the fans could possibly turn out again. Hopefully, Essendon 9th on the ladder, just half a game and percentage out. Gold Coast they're done for the year. They could win this weekend and still be ruled out mathematically, I believe. They've played some really good footy this year though. The only issue is they've only played good footy at home. They're yet to win on the road, continuing a long streak of poor away performances. They've won just 8 away games since 2021. It's not new. They're a young team who doesn't know how to perform away from Metricon, but it doesn't mean they can't turn up and embarrass us. We thought the Crows and Saints game should have been wins, so we can't go into this one thinking the same, because that is when the club lets you down. As I said before though, the Freo game, it will be very on brand to beat the top 4 Dockers, only to lose out against the Suns at home. But let's talk about Gold Coast and their away troubles, and just the Suns as a team. What should we be expecting from this side that not many would know too much about? Well, it is really hard to talk about this team because their best and worst varies so much week to week depending on location. This is a very talented list, and they have top draft picks scattered throughout. The midfield's fantastic at its best. Witts, Anderson, Rowell, Miller. It's an A-tier primary midfield group. The forward line is potent, and there are generals back in defence that do not get enough recognition. Sam Collins is, in my eyes, one of the very best defenders in the league, and guys like Charlie Ballard and Will Powell are really underrated as well. There's enough talent on this list for the Suns to be a finals contending team. The issue is above the shoulders, really. It's the mindset. Much like Essendon, Gold Coast seem to be lacking. They're a weak club. You cannot say this trend of away performances comes down to anything other than the brain. It's all mental. Former players have said the same thing. It's become a bit of a curse for Gold Coast. So even when you're in a winning position like the Suns were against West Coast, you still drop your heads and wait for the loss to come. It's not like they're going out and losing away to good teams. They lost to both St Kilda and North at Marvel Stadium, and of course most recently they let a lead slip against West Coast. These are bottom teams in the comp. It's wild to think this is the same team who beat us, who beat Collingwood, they beat Port, and they absolutely smashed Hawthorn and Geelong as well. Damien Hardwick has addressed it a few times. He says the club needs to grow up, and it's hard not to agree. They're a weak team whenever they have to hop on a plane, which plays into our hands considering we are hosting them this weekend. We're not getting on a plane. Gold Coast at their home ground have turned into a very formidable back half team. In fact, across the comp, they're actually 3rd for scores from turnover and 8th for scores from their back half, both figures that would be skewed for their work at home and away, obviously. They are very much like us in that they are a high inside 50 team, one of the highest in the comp, but they really struggle to score when they get it in there. In fact, they're much worse than us in this regard, which I'm sure many fans didn't think was possible. While we're 5th bottom for goals per inside 50, Gold Coast are 2nd bottom, only better than Richmond, and away from home it's bad. They manage a scoring shot from every, I have here 30 inside 50s in my notes, but I'm going to guess that's a 3 and a typo. It makes it hard for them to put on big scores in new environments. Based on history, they'd need around 60 inside 50s to manage 20 scoring shots. It's why they haven't cracked a score above 90 in another state since round 24 last year against North Melbourne. So even though they're a high scoring team at Metricon, we should still expect them to be struggling to score. That is, if we are sound enough with our zonal defence to withstand their transitioning footy. It's not first class, but it's dangerous enough to be a worry. It's also just individuals not being at their best when on the road. Noah Anderson's the perfect example. He has triple the amount of career Brownlow votes at home than he does away. Alex Sexton is ranked by Champion Data as a 70% worse player from output on the road. Ben Long has played 2 more away games this year than at home, but has still scored more at Metricon. Ben King in his career has kicked over 30 more goals at home despite only playing a handful of more games there. Even guys like Touk Miller, experienced members of the team, are just not as dangerous as they are after having been on a flight. And on the flip side, we're typically a very good team at Marvel, even though our last 2 matches there were disasters. At Marvel, we are a very high inside 50 team, so that makes this game about 2 things for me. It makes it about personnel, individuals rising to the occasion or lack thereof. How do Gold Coast players rise to the occasion when it's season over? And also just about who gets more of the territory. I don't even think this is about who uses their territory better, because both teams will be wasteful. It's in our nature, but unfortunately, I think this game will be about quantity and just who has the ball ball in their forward half for longer and more. Although in saying that, because we have two teams who like to transition, could this be a good week for that out-the-back footy when opposition wasted chances? I think that would favour the Suns more, which brings me to my next point. Because Gold Coast will like to transition, it makes this game really important in the midfield. A game like this that could ping-pong needs an advantage from another source, so we need to be scoring from our midfield again, like we did against Freo, and we really need to keep that ball inside our forward 50. That forward pressure last week was elite, 18 tackles to 50. Sorry, 18 tackles inside 50 to 8. Stringer had 6 on his own. We need that manic energy in our forward half again to avoid them transitioning. It's the thing we've lacked consistently all year. Every now and then we seem to find a gear to go to up forward and have that game like that Freo one, but we struggle to follow it up. On Saturday, we need to follow it up, and we really need to lock that ball inside 50. Repeat entries. As I said, it'll be about quantity of entries and not quality. That isn't what I want, it's just how it's going to be. In saying that though, I would love to see us freshen up our ball use a bit going forward. I've said this a lot this year, but this could be a confidence boosting game and a chemistry enhancing one. I just doubt it's going to be the case. It could be a really sloppy game of footy full of errors and one that could really frustrate both fan bases. We should be aiming to make them the more frustrated fans with our forward pressure though, not allowing them to transition and get speed out the back. Without Ridley, it's even more of an issue. We can't rely on Ben Mackay or Jaden Laverty to be chasing a fast-moving footy on ground level. We need hat kicks to their advantage when Gold Coast exit. That starts with our intensity in forward 50 and us getting that territory early from our midfield dominance. Now, it shouldn't make too much of a difference because in the end, these are all A-grade athletes, but I do wonder how much the intensity of that last match is going to, I guess, be a factor here, or it'll seep through, especially because the Suns have an extra 2 days of rest on us. It should never be an excuse, it should never be a factor, not even close. Every team has matches like this with quicker turnarounds. The Suns played on Friday, we played on Sunday, but it's only an excuse for poor or weak teams. You'd never catch Brisbane complaining about this. And it should also be noted, we've been in Melbourne for a while the Suns have gone from Optus Stadium to home, then travelling. I do wonder though how our younglings will go. Roberts, Bryan, those are guys who aren't used to those quicker turnarounds and who are not regular AFL members of the team. Will this force Scott to make some unforced changes, or do we stick with what we currently have at risk of burnout? I'll talk about the team news in a second, but we should be outworking this Gold Coast side on Marvel. They are fit, but we should be covering more distance than them. We have more to play for, more at stake. What it does mean though, it means that the start of this game is super important. We typically get off to fast starts. Gold Coast do not. In fact, only one team this year has lost more first quarters than Gold Coast. We should be hot early. We should pile on some goals to put them under the pump, and if we do that, we probably win the game. Obviously, it's easier said than done. We suck at putting teams away, but it's a good way to conserve energy, end the game early so they fall away. They're a weak team. They won't be able to come back from behind away from home. All right, team news, starting with Gold Coast. There were worries over Ben King and a possible concussion on Friday night, but he will be fine. They won't really need to make any forced changes. They probably do make a couple of unforced changes, though. There were some quiet performances. Quite a few of their small forwards were quiet. Joel Jeffrey and Lloyd Johnson could be under pressure. The former was actually subbed out of the game, so he could really feel the heat. Sam Closey was poor. Sexton too. There were some good performers in the VFL as well, so expect a couple of omissions. As for us, Xavier Dersma has injured his hamstring and will probably be out for the rest of the season. We could do a few things here. We could move Cox back onto the wing and bring Sam Wiedemann or Lewis Hayes into cover for the loss of Ridley in defence. We could play Setterfield or Sartas on the wing, which is obviously not their preferred position, but they have played there before. We could bring Nick Hind in, who's been on the wing lately in the VFL. Ben Hobbs deserves a go. Does he come back in? I think we only make one change. I doubt we swing the axe on someone like Menzies like many people want, especially after a good win with an injury to another player. I think Setterfield comes in for Dersma is my guess after a 40 disposal game in the VFL, but let me know what you think down below, what happens in the comments. Prediction time. Look, realistically, we should win this game and we should win it comfortably. I said the same about Adelaide and St Kilda though. I actually haven't got a prediction right in weeks. We're pretty hard to read right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we fall apart and lose. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to predict that. I think we win, and I think we win it fairly comfortably. I reckon it's 20 plus, let's say 4 goals. I just think we're the better team, better suited to this ground, more to play for, more at stake. Gold Coast haven't shown enough for me on the road to tip them, so I just really hope we put them to the sword more than anything. I want a big win, and I want a confidence boost for some players. I want to see reason for me to think we can go and beat Sydney or challenge with the Lions. I'm not thinking about finals. It's looking like 14 wins is what's needed now. That to me is almost out of the question. We have it against us. We could enter the 8 if we win against the Suns, but we can't just narrowly beat them. We need to set up for a real push, not because I want to play finals, but because I want the boys to be feeling the pressure and seeing them perform under it, because we haven't really seen that too much yet apart from the Freo game. That is what I want to see from Essendon, so let's just go out, get the job done. Bombers by 24. Alright, that is that preview done. Let me know what you think down below. Get out to the game if you can. Hopefully we get a bit of a crowd in, silence that massive Gold Coast fan base. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.